Sylveon is finally being added to Pokemon Go. Starting May 25th, as part of the Luminous Legends Y event, Sylveon is finally going to be added to the game. We will finally be able to get the final evolution in our roster. Of course, you guys are probably wondering just how good Sylveon, the pure fairy type evolution, just how good is that Pokemon in both raids and in PvP? And in this video, I'm going to cover just that, just how good Sylveon is in the raid meta and how good Sylveon is in all of the PvPs, all 3 plus the Premier Cups, all the PvPs. I'll let you know about Sylveon here. If you are curious about other details of the Luminous Legends Y event, link in the description to a quick, simple game press blurb on everything that you should know about the Luminous Legends Y event. Big part of it is that we will be able to TM frustration during the duration of the event, starting May 18th. That is a really big point, so make sure to keep that in mind. All them frustrations, you can TM them. So here we have Sylveon, Mono Fairy type Pokemon Evolution. If you're wondering how to evolve Sylveon, right now it's been hinted that we get it by having Buddy Hearts. How many Buddy Hearts does it take to evolve a Sylveon? We don't exactly know right now, but it is going to be tied to the Buddy system. To add to that, if you do want to evolve a Sylveon like right away without making it your buddy, there is the naming convention. Like all the evolutions, you can get the guaranteed EV evolution one time by using this name trick, and it appears that Sylveon's name trick is going to be Kira, K-I-R-A, and if you put that name in, you should see a little shadow silhouette of the Sylveon. That'll let you know it's the right name, and then you'd be able to evolve Sylveon that way too. So naming trick does exist for Sylveon. Now when it comes to Sylveon stats, we have an attack of 203, which is lower than both Togekiss and Gardevoir's attack, so that's not looking too hot for it in terms of raids, maybe a little bit better in PvP. And then when it comes to the defense and the stamina stats, it's definitely beating out the Gardevoir, but it's still a touch behind the Togekiss in terms of bulk. So not the greatest fairy type Pokemon, looking a little bit soft there for the raid meta, but could be pretty interesting in PvP. Then when it comes to the moveset department, for the fast moves we have Charm and Quick Attack. So unlike Xerneas, Sylveon will not be held back by not having a fairy type fast move. Sylveon does have the fairy type fast move. Then when it comes to the Quick Attack, you might be thinking that this might be a placeholder for some brand new fairy type fast move like maybe Fairy Wind or something, because typically the evolutions only have a mono-typed moveset, like Vaporeon only has water type attacks, Umbreon only has dark type attacks, and so on. But Leafeon also happens to have Quick Attack in Pokemon Go, so it's not out of the realm of possibility for Sylveon to also be stuck with the Quick Attack. To add to this Quick Attack not changing theory, we did get Aromatisse, Slurpluff, and Xerneas in Pokemon Go recently, and they all have Tackle in their moveset, and I thought those were going to be placeholders as well for like the same brand new attack, but that didn't change either. They all sure do have Tackle in their move pools, so we're probably going to be getting Quick Attack. Then when it comes to the charge moves, we've got Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam, Draining Kiss, and then for an Elite Charge TM, you can get Last Resort. Now when it comes to Moonblast, Moonblast is generally the best move for PvP, so Sylveon's feeling pretty good there. And then Dazzling Gleam is generally the best move for raids, so Sylveon isn't hurting there either. It's feeling pretty tall in the moveset department. And if you are curious about Last Resort, why is that an Elite TM right on release? Well, there was an EV Community Day back in the past, and all the evolutions were able to learn Last Resort on that Community Day, but Sylveon obviously wasn't there to party with them, so you wouldn't be able to evolve Sylveon in the past to get this move, but it is part of the Elite TM move pool. So if there ever is like an evolution event in the future where you don't have to spend an Elite TM for Community Day attacks, then Sylveon should be eligible for that. So if you want to get Last Resort right away, you'll have to spend the Elite Charge TM. But if you wait it out a little bit, then you could evolve into Last Resort during a specific event. It does not look like Pokemon Go is going to be allowing this Last Resort evolution for the Luminous Legends Y event though, at this time. This could change, but it doesn't look like it. So looking at the DPS TDO calculator here on GamePress, you can see that Sylveon's not doing that hot compared to the other fairy type Pokemon. And this doesn't come as a big surprise. Sylveon does have a lower attack stat than both Gardevoir and Togekiss, so its performance in raids, having the same exact move pool, more often than not will be behind them. Now, I did look at some fantasy simulations where I used Sylveon with a unique fast move, a new fairy type fast move that's like really powerful, and it was still behind both Gardevoir and Togekiss. Its DPS went from like 12.99 to about 13.5, so having a really powerful fast move helped bridge the gap a little bit, but it didn't make like big waves for the Sylveon there. I also ran simulations using Play Rough. Play Rough is slightly better in practice than Dazzling Gleam is, and it only changed results ever so slightly. It really wasn't enough for Sylveon to bridge the gap between Togekiss and Gardevoir. So a little bit unfortunate there for the Sylveon. If you are a Sylveon enthusiast, or you like to do raids with like unique Pokemon, you don't like to have two of the same Pokemon, Sylveon's looking like a really hot option for Fairy type Pokemon. It's not bad, but it definitely is not the optimal Fairy type attacker. One other thing you could consider to help Sylveon out compared to its Fairy type brethren is if it was like a specific moveset from the raid boss that is super effective on these guys, but not super effective on Sylveon. But even that doesn't really work out all too well, because stuff that hits Togekiss super effective, you know, like Ice, Electric, Rock, well, Gardevoir is not weak to that either. And then when it comes to Gardevoir, Gardevoir gets hit super effective by Ghost type attacks and gets hit neutrally by Dark type attacks. But Togekiss is fine there too. So these two kind of cover each other in that respect. Sylveon could cover both of them, I guess. But at the end of the day, there are very few situations where these two are hurting, where Sylveon is doing better than both of them. So it's just kind of awkward. I did find one raid in particular. I didn't look very hard, so there's probably more examples. But I looked at the Zekrom raid, and the Wild Charge moveset specifically did put Sylveon ahead of both of them, because the Wild Charge was hitting Gardevoir so hard, and Sylveon's got that bigger bulk than Gardevoir, so it was able to survive, you know? But against that moveset in particular, the Electric moveset from this Electric Pokemon, yeah, all the ground type Pokemon were just slam dunking it. So it was like, yeah, Sylveon, even in cloudy weather, you know, it's better than these guys now against that one particular moveset, against that one particular raid boss. But even with the cloudy weather bonus, ground type Pokemon were just way better than everything. So yeah, Sylveon, it's unique. It's not bad, but it's not great when it comes to raids. You could power it up and use it, it'll be just fine. But you know, it's not hashtag optimal. Now when it comes to the PvP side of the force, starting out with the Great League, Sylveon's not all that bad. It's a mono Fairy type Pokemon, it's got Charm, how could it be awful, right? And if you look at its stat product of 1931, it has a very similar stat product to Clefable, 1946. In fact, I mentioned this exact situation in my Slurpluff and Aromatisse analysis video. Link up above and in the description if you want to check that video out. I also talk about Goodra and Pangoro there if you're curious. And yeah, same situation when it comes to Slurpluff and Aromatisse. I'll show you Slurpluff here. You can see that Sylveon has an identical stat product to these guys, which means aside from ever so slight differences in their attack, defense, and stamina, Sylveon, as a charmer, at a base, has the same performance as these three other mono-type fairy charm-using Pokemon. So that means that the big difference between Sylveon and these Pokemon is going to come down to the charge attacks. And having Moonblast is good, because that is the best fairy-type charge move for PvP, but having Last Resort really isn't all that impressive. It's a normal type attack, so steel type Pokemon that resist Charm, they're going to resist the Last Resort too, whereas Slurpluff has Flamethrower, Aromatisse has Thunderbolt, so these Pokemon can hit them for neutral. Clefable, you know, it's got Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash is better in neutral than Last Resort is. It's not getting that extra coverage against steel type Pokemon, but we got Slurpluff and Aromatisse now, and Last Resort just ain't doing it. So at the end of the day, if you're going to be using a Charm Pokemon in PvP, and all four of these monotype fairy charmers have the exact same stats for the most part, and the only difference is going to be in their charge moves, and you know, Sylveon's having the worst charge moves, then Sylveon's just going to be behind these guys in performance. At the end of the day, they got good bulk, they got good stats, they got Charm, so Charm's good. So I can't say that Sylveon's going to be bad in the Great League. Obviously, it's going to be good. It's a powerful Charm-using Pokemon, but it's just going to live in the shadow of Slurpluff and Aromatisse and Clefable, in my opinion there. So, not bad, but, you know, are you really going to use this thing in Great League? And then when you pump things up to Ultra League PvP here, you can see it's the exact same situation. We got effectively the same stat product as Slurpluff. It's going to be the same situation for Clefable. It's going to be the same situation for Aromatisse. Very similar stat products. So once again, we're kind of hurting in that charge move coverage department. However, when it comes to Ultra League PvP, Sylveon does have one interesting advantage over these other fairy type Pokemon, and that is that it's a lot cheaper to power up. You look at Slurpluff here, that's a level 51 Slurpluff, right? Level 51, XL Candy, tons of Stardust, Sylveon. Effectively the same stat product, but only level 31.5. You look at Clefable, it's the same business, level 49. 49! All that Stardust for a Charmer, but 31.5, effectively the same stat product, if not arguably better than the Clefable. And same situation for Aromatisse too. That thing's like level 49 or level 50. So if you are looking to build a Charmer for Ultra League PvP, be it the Premier Cup or the Open Ultra League, Sylveon's going to be a lot cheaper of an option. If you were looking at maybe doing a double Charm strat, for instance, and you already have some big bulky Charmer all maxed out or something like that, and you don't really want to put all that Stardust into another one, but you do want to dip your toes into the double Charm, Sylveon, only level 31.5, so that is pretty nice for a Sylveon there. And then finally, when it comes to Master League PvP, Sylveon's got to be compared to the Togekiss, and you know, stat product 5.452 versus stat product 5.842. That doesn't sound too big, you know, you're like, they're both like 5,000, but you know, Togekiss is pushing 6,000. Sylveon definitely ain't pushing no 6,000 there. So Togekiss is definitely the better Pokemon in terms of stat product. And then when it comes to their move pools, you know, typically a Togekiss doesn't really need to do anything more charming outside of Charm, but that Flamethrower does give it that coverage against Steel-type Pokemon to maybe knock them out if it's got an energy lead or a shield advantage, and then Ancient Power can give it that mind-numbing boost that just ruins people's lives, and a really solid hit against the Ho-Oh, which otherwise walls both of these Pokemon. So Togekiss kind of rocking it in the moveset department. Moonblast isn't bad, but it takes a long time to get there, longer than it does to get to like Ancient Power or Flamethrower, so you know, when are you really going to use it? And if you are getting walled by a Fire type or a Steel type Pokemon, is it really going to have a lot of impact? So at the end of the day, you know, Togekiss does have Flying type weaknesses, but more often than not, in basically every single situation, Sylveon's going to be better. There are some niche situations where like a Zekrom Wild Charge won't KO Sylveon, but it would KO Togekiss in like a zero shield situation. Mamoswine is another such moveset that Sylveon could overcome in more situations than Togekiss can, because Avalanche is just coming soon enough and it's super effective against the Togekiss. But outside of those two niche situations, Sylveon's just generally worse than Togekiss. And there are like 3 or 4 other meta matchups that Togekiss just straight up does better, like 100% of the time, compared to Sylveon maybe doing better against those 2 specific matchups. That about wraps up my thoughts on Sylveon here. Overall, it's not a bad Pokemon. It's not an optimal Pokemon, so you know, the big grinders out there with tons of Stardust, they're not going to be too happy for the Sylveon. But for, you know, the poor Stardust peasants like me, Sylveon does offer a pretty interesting opportunity when it comes to Ultra League PvP. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on Sylveon. And of course, if you have any questions on this content, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support the Swagman on Patreon, link in the description.